Hey NBA2K MyLeague fans, I am back with another NBA2K MyLeague video. In this video, we're going to talk about the off-season training camps and hopefully share with you everything you need to know about these camps, including how to maximize the number of free camps you get. And then I'll share with you probably the 4 top camps I would choose in my MyLeagues. And then you can let me know in the comments if you disagree and what camps that you use. New to the channel, I'm Coach 2K. And if you love my league, you're going to want to subscribe to my channel and click the bell to get notified whenever I upload anything new so you don't miss a single NBA 2K video that I put out. And while you're here, make sure that you check out my NBA 2K MyLeague expansion series, and I'll throw a link in the corner to the beginning of the series in this video. Alright, with that, let's get started and talk about these off-season training camps. Now, during the off-season of your MyLeague files, there's an event list that you work your way through before you advance to the next season, and one of the options towards the end of the event list is this thing called training camps. Now, training camps are optional. You don't have to use them, but if you'd like to use them, you can send specific players to specific camps to give them a permanent boost in their attributes so that they'll be better players going into the next season. And you get a certain number of free camps that you can use based on the ability of your trainer. Now, before we dig into the camps specifically and talk about how they work, I wanted to take a moment just to talk about attributes, and that way you can kind of get a basis of kind of what you want to look at in terms of deciding what players you want to send to specific camps. So let's talk about that for just a second. Now, attributes are basically just qualities your player has. Could be certain skills or like IQ, an intangible item like that. And everything kind of has a numerical rating. And those numerical ratings basically tell you how good that player is compared to other players that play that position. Now, different players need different skills based on what position they play. So a point guard is going to need to be good, with the ball, where he's not going to really need to be a shot blocker, for example, where a center might need to be a good shot blocker and not so good with the ball. So you have to kind of look at each of the players and what position they play and how you're going to be utilizing them, and then look at the areas that they're weak at and then consider sending a player to that specific camp. So in the case of Brogdon here, for example, you'll notice that he's got a high passing IQ, 93. I mean, over 80 is good, really good, and over 90 is just excellent. So you can see here he's way above the position average, and so it really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for me to send Malcolm Brogdon to a specific camp just to increase his passing IQ, unless it was just part of another package of attributes that went up. But you can see here that he's got pretty good handles. He's better than the position average. He's almost 90. But he's a little slower when he's dribbling with the ball than the rest of the league. So this is an opportunity to focus on, and maybe I'd want to get him up a couple points so he's more in tune with the position average or better. So you want to look for gaps like that in the skills that specific players need, and then that's something you can consider focusing on in these training camps. And this is a lot like I talked about in setting up your training during the season, and I'll put a link to the corner in how to use the training during the season that I talked about. But anyway, this is kind of where you want to come from when you're thinking about training camps. Alright, so let's talk more about the training camps themselves. Okay, now inside of the training camp screen, you're going to see that there are 13 different camps that you can choose to send a player to. And you'll notice on the left-hand side that there's this thing that says camp description. And the camp description tells you what attributes that specific camp will increase and by how many points. So in our example with Malcolm Brogdon, we were interested in increasing his speed with the ball. So what you do, you go through here and you look at the different camps, and you'll notice like that under athleticism, one of those is speed with the ball, that if we send Malcolm Brogdon to that camp, he'll see a 2-point increase in not just speed with the ball, but these other categories too, because they're kind of all related. And that, if that was important to us, that, Brogdon was faster with the ball, then we would want to send him to this specific camp. Now, you don't have an unlimited number of camps. You'll notice there it says free camps available, and in this case the Pacers have 3 camps that they can send players to. So they can really only send three players to a camp. So you can't send all players to training camp. And if you look through the league here, you'll see like the Pelicans only have 2 training camps. The Pistons only have 1 training camp. And so you're like, well, why do they only have 1 training camp when the Pacers over here have 3? Well, if you look at the training camp menu in the off season, that'll tell you why. You'll notice here that it says the number of free camps that you have available is based on the ability of your trainer. So how good your trainer is determines how many camps you get. So let's take a look at the trainers. Inside of the staff menu, that's where you find your trainer. And every trainer is assigned a training letter grade. And in the case of the Lakers trainer here, you can see the training is A+. So that means he's the best trainer available. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a trainer with an A+ letter grade, then that means you get the maximum number of free camps available, which is 4. So the most free camps you can have available in the off season is a total of 4. Now you can see here I've used one of them, so it says I got 3 left, but I started with 4. So A+ trainers get 4 training camps in the off season. Now you'll notice that for the Indiana Pacers here, their trainer has a training grade of A-. And if you look at the number of free camps that the Pacers have, they have 3. So a letter grade of A- or A, that opens up 3 training camps for you in the off season. Now if you look at the Pelicans here, their trainer has a training grade of B-. And if you look at the number of free camps that the Pelicans have available, it's 2. So if you have a letter grade, if your trainer does, of B+, B, or B-, then your team's going to have 2 camps available. And finally, if we look at the Trailblazers here, their trainer has a training grade of C+. And you can see when you look at their number of free camps available, it's only 1. So any trainer with a letter grade of C+ or below, your team's only going to get 1 training camp that you can use. So you can see the better your trainer, the more opportunity you have to improve the players on your team. Alright, now that you know the number of free camps, how to maximize those, the next thing is just choosing, which are the best camps to send your players to. And like I was mentioning, that's going to really depend on what you're trying to do. So if you want to zone in on one particular player and try and just work on the areas that he's weak, that's the ideal scenario. But that being said, probably the number 1 camp most people recommend when they're playing these MyLeagues is to use this thing called untapped potential. And so untapped potential will increase a player's potential by 3 points. So you can see here we're looking at Zion Williamson, and he was drafted in 2019. So he's a young player. So young players are the best to use untapped potential on. But just keep in mind, in his case, he's already got an A potential. You're not going to see a huge boost in potential by sending him to untapped potential. The Pacers, on the other hand, they've got a young guy too. And this is a guy maybe they would want to send to the untapped potential training camp. And if you look at Batase's potential, it's B+. He's got a little bit more room for growth there in terms of potential. And so it might make even more sense to send somebody like him to the untapped potential training camp. So untapped potential's up there in terms of one you definitely want to make sure you're considering for your younger players. Now you're not going to want to send your 35-year-old veteran to untapped potential because they've probably already peaked out. You want to focus this on your young guys and maybe just a time or two when they're young. Once they're over 23, 24, 25 years old, I don't know whether you're going to see a lot of benefit. It probably just depends on the potential grade, I suppose. And each individual player built into them has their kind of peak time period kind of built in and baked into their character. So, it's hard to say across the board how that would affect every player. All right, let's talk about a few other camps I like here. I really like the basketball 101 camp because it just focuses on making your team smarter across the board. Another thing you can do inside of this screen is you see these letter grades over here. I like to change them to numbers, and then I can focus on specific attributes and then see, for example, that like for perimeter defense I can sort it, and I can see, Malcolm Brogdon, perimeter defense is one of these attributes that's bumped up, and he would certainly be helped by that. And so you can kind of, in addition to the screen I showed you where you can see the player's specific attributes compared to their position average, you can see it in here too, which is a nice feature. But basketball 101, I really like that one. Another one I really like are the offensive fundamentals, and the main thing I like about this one is the offensive consistency. That's a big deal when you're playing games. I mean, you need guys that can be consistent. You can see Miles Turner here, he's a little bit below 80, and he'd be a guy that would be good to focus on increasing his consistency a little bit. But that's the primary reason that I like the offensive fundamentals. Another camp I really like is the rebounding one. And one of the things that's great about this one is you get a 3-point boost in defensive and offensive rebounding. Look at Miles Turner here, which is the starting center for the Pacers. I mean, his rebounding's weak, so he could stand to use a boost there, to get him higher. A 3-point boost in each of those categories would certainly help him a ton. You can get another big boost in the weight training camp, 4 points in strength, 5% to body weight. That might be a case where, I don't know whether we really wanted to increase Turner's weight, but he definitely needs to be stronger, just a little bit stronger and that probably help him with his rebounding too. So I really like the weight one because of the 4-point increase in strength. That's really a super big increase. Another one I really like is the free throw training camp, because it's not just for one player, it's for everybody on the team, and everybody gets a 1-point gain in their free throw shooting. And I guess this one's on my mind because in my expansion series that I'm playing, my team sucks at free throws, and it's just, free points, man. And so I could see where I'd probably be sending my team, if I only have one camp for that particular team, I'd probably be sending them to the free throw camp just to, help increase the number of free throws we make, because we've lost a few games just because we haven't been able to hit free throws. After you send a guy to training camp, you can see the increase in his attributes. So you can see right on the screen here, these boosts that we're talking about. This was the rebounding camp where each one increased the rebounding attribute for the offensive and defensive rebounding by 3. And so that's a permanent boost, which is cool. And another thing you want to keep in mind too is you can only send one guy to one camp per off season. So let's say I'm working on the big man camp here and I want to send Capella to big man camp. I can send him, and then there's the boost. But if I also want to send him to like offensive fundamentals and I choose Capella, he's already attended a camp. So one player per camp per off season. So you got to spread it around. If you got all 4 of your training camps available, you can't send one player to all 4 camps. All right, now while I talked about some of the camps that I liked personally, there's no right or wrong answer here in terms of which camps are better. What really matters is you need to look at the specific players that you want to make better, find out where they're weak, and then choose the camp that makes them stronger in the areas that you want to strengthen them in. And that will be the best strategy in terms of the number of camps. All right, so that's a great overview, I think, of the off-season training camps. Probably the most important factor there is getting a really good trainer, because it doesn't matter what the camps do if you can't send your players to camp. So you're going to want to focus on upgrading your trainer, and then taking a look at the players where they're weak and which camps would be best for them. All right, so I'm interested to hear what you think in the comments. Do you use the training camps? Which ones do you like? and is there any other tips that I missed and didn't mention in this video. So if you like this video, hit the like button. In the meantime, I'm Coach 2K. I'll see you on the court in the next video. Thanks for watching.